Hello, this is me, Robert, Mr. Root, and welcome to my brand new tutorial. This time I will show you how to produce a disco track, like in the 70s, but produced in a new way, with a new contemporary, modern sounds, with new uh, ways and or new production tricks. So let's get to it.
It's not a problem that I can't fix, because I can do it in the mix.
Okay, let's get started. As you know, disco music was played by real musicians, real instruments, very few electronics. So that is why we have to at least recreate a part of it. So that is why we have to have the same kind of sounds, um, like pianos, bass guitars, drums that will sound original and live, and we'll beef it up with the contemporary modern sounds. So as you can see here, I have a very simple chord progression that I already prepared. That is, sounds more or less like this. Okay, so it's a pretty simple thing. I played it with Rhodes piano that was also used back in the days. It sounds pretty good because it's from F9 Audio, Funk Instruments Electric Rhodes piano. It's a very nice library from F9 Audio, so I use this. Anyway, but first let's start with drums. And again, I also programmed here some drums, but they have to, first of all, they have to sound natural. They have to sound like proper drums, live drums. So that is why I will open here a contact and have here a drummer or drum library. So let's have here this kit. It's pretty cool. It's modern. It sounds really good. So you can I guess you can hear. So if we will play it, let's copy this to this and just listen to the drums. Okay, so as you can hear, it sounds like a real drummer. You have to emulate the ways that real drummers are playing. So, for example, when you have a kick, you have this double kick here that is a little bit quieter, this one. So you can listen to this, especially here. So we have this sort of like ba-bam thing with a kick drum. So anyway, you have already drums, but they sound kind of natural, and we want to beef up the sound. We want to make it sound modern, contemporary, clubby, housey even. So what you have to do is actually replace or layer some sounds from this kit that will sound more like house music. So for example, here I already prepared here a kick drum that sounds like this. I have it here. It's played. It's a sample I have. That is, I put it here on the Groove Agent SE, and I will replace the original kick drum from this kit with the electronic one. So what I will do, first of all, I'm going here and I'm just going to the mixer and I'm muting this fader. So it sounds like this. However, as you know, and we might know, when the real drums are recorded, there are microphones all over the drum kit, and the microphones are picking up the room reverb, the room sound, and it has to stay because it will give us this sort of like live drum sound. So that will stay. We just muting the microphone that is actually placed over here by the kick drum. The rest, the other microphones that are overheads, or they are the microphone that is recording the drum reverb, the room sound, that will stay. And look what is happening when I will turn on the sample, the electronic kick drum. This is the electronic kick drum. You see, automatically we have a lot of more power in this groove, and it's way better. Then of course we have a snare, and we want to have a more modern snare. So what we do, I loaded here battery from Native Instruments, and I have here loads of different sounds. I particularly like this snare drum. It's a 909 kit. So let's program the snare. And now. Okay, so we have here another snare that is more electronic, and let's add to it also electronic hi-hat. It will also beef up our rhythm. So we have here a really nice 909 hi-hat. However, what I'll do, and now I can program it in on the same track. However, I will just double this, duplicate this track, so it will automatically load another battery. However, what I'll do, let's open it, and let's find this. Let's find this hi-hat. Okay, it's here. Let's hear it. Okay, so I have my hi-hat on a separate channel. And why on a separate channel? Because here this snare needs a little bit of compression and a little bit of working on it, because I don't like it too much as it is. So first of all, I'm loading compressor, and it's a supercharger GT as usual. It's a brilliant compressor from Native Instruments, and I use it all the time, and even the presets are already plug and play. So what I do, I just choose the snare preset and let's listen to it. Okay, so we already have this really nice attack. A little bit too much, so I will lower the compression. I will give a little bit more of fatness, a little bit more saturation. Let's listen to it now. Okay, without. That's pretty nice. And because, as you can see, there's a lot of information in the low end. Let's high pass it. So let's go to choose this equalizer, and I will just cut the lows that are actually not really necessary. Maybe I will also add a little bit of highs, just a little bit. Okay, and listen together with it. Now, as there are some frequencies that are the same in both of these snares. So you see here around 200 hertz there is a little bit a peak, but I want to keep this natural snare sound, and the snare that is electronic, it must be supportive. So what I will do, I'll go here again to the frequency, and as you can see here is also the same kind of peak. So I'll just go and cut it a little bit. So now it sounds loud better. Now okay, this hi-hat also needs a little bit of work. So again, let's load equalizer and see. Again, we have loads of information here, so we don't actually need it. Now we just adding a little bit of highs. Okay. So it's starting to sound pretty okay. Of course, we can add a little bit more. We can add a clap later, but let's stick with it. So I'm creating a group, drums, and all of these channels will be directed to the group. So I'm just doing that on another screen, but you will see that. Okay, let's go back. Everything is on this one channel right here. Nice. Okay, so let's add a little bit of compression and add a little bit of feeling to this whole group. So let's let's use multiband. This is a really nice multiband compressor. It's from Lipwing. It's called Dynon Lipwing. It's a very, very good one. And punch in white. You just use this preset, and it's already working very, very nice. So listen without it. Okay, so it already sounds pretty cool. The bass started pump, the kick drum started pump. Maybe a little bit more compression we can add to the high frequencies with the hi-hats. So let's work on them a little bit. As you can see, I can solo it. No, okay. Okay. So as you can see, it started to compress the high frequency. Let's listen to it together. Now it sounds pretty okay. And I always add a little bit more of fatness and saturation. In this case, I'm adding a tape emulation, which is from UAD. It's emulation of this tape machine from Ampex. It's really good, but you can use any other tape saturation plugin, whatever you have, and it already have pretty good presets that you really just choose and play, and that's it. So for example, so look, listen without it, and with it. Okay, the kick is a little bit too heavy for my taste, so let's high pass it as well. Frequency. There we go. I would also high pass the drums as well, because it has a lot of room verb in the lows, so that I don't actually like too much. So let's do it as well. Okay, and now balance everything. So what I usually do, just start from kick. Okay, we have the beat. Now, let's go back to the chords. We have these chords. Okay, so we have this really nice chord progression with rhodes. We can absolutely keep it, but we need a bass guitar. So what we do is we load again another contact, and we have scrumbly bass, and we have to play the bass line. What kind of a bass line? It's pretty easy because we already have the notes here. So as you can see, we have the left hand that is playing. So these notes. So actually we use these notes also for the bass. So let's have this as our guide and start to play it. Okay, so we have a bass line that sounds more or less like this. We can add a little bit of disco to it. Oh, it's as you know, the disco bass lines are pretty distinctive, so we can emulate actually this part as well. So at the end of the phrase, so it will sound like this. Yes. Like this. Okay, so we could add a little bit more melody to it. Okay, fine, but this library sounds pretty okay by its own. However, it will be always good to have it a little bit beefed up. So let's load some kind of a guitar distortion emulation plugin. In my case, I use a lot of guitar rig. And I have here bass amps. So I guess I will try the first two. As you can automatically hear, it already gives it gave a lot of weight to this bass line. The bass line starts to sound really nice and deep. The only thing we have to do is balance it together with the kick drum. So you can see that the kick is mostly present around here. So it's around 60 hertz. So I will let's get another equalizer and just get a little bit this 60 hertz thing out. And of course a little bit of compression and saturation. And again, this supercharger GT is a great great plugin for that. So let's have electric bass, and let's mess a little bit with it. So without all these plugins, it sounds like this. So you see, it already starts to sound pretty nice and pretty cool. And of course, obviously, we have to add some sidechain compression. Yeah, back in the days, they were not using that, obviously. I mean, like us, they obviously use sidechain compression, but not to have this sort of like pumping effects. And we actually beefing up the disco style up to date, so we have to do it. So this is what exactly I'm gonna do. So I'm sending the signal from my kick to my compressor. Okay, and just listen to it. Okay, so let's listen to it, to everything together. So again, I will start to slowly add the bass to the beat. So I will balance it accordingly, so the bass will be not. Well, it's a good way. Just if you want to add something and you want to keep the balance, just do it slowly, gradually. So let's listen to the beat and add slowly the bass line. Okay, that sounds pretty okay. I think we are doing that in 120 BPM, so let's change it to 124. 124, yes. So it will be a little bit faster. Okay, now because we are also pumping more of the instruments. I mean, we are sidechaining and pumping like in the modern music. So and we want to pump a lot of instruments. So instead of sidechaining each and every one, so you can create a group, and I'm usually calling it pumping group. Okay. And what we have here. So direct it to the pumping group, and on this group, let's have again a compressor that will react from the kick drum. Is the kick drum? Yes. So let's send the signal to the sidechain pumping group compressor and see. Oh, these are strings, but we'll come to that later. So we can also have a little bit of piano. That's a pretty standard piano from native instruments. Let's just equalize it a little bit here. And let's high pass it again. Okay, there we go. So we are high passing the piano. And again, I'm using the Supercharger GT compressor with white piano preset. Obviously, it's gonna be a little bit too squashed. Let's listen to it. Okay, fine. Let's listen together. Okay, so we have the basic background instruments. We have bass line, we have drums. Of course, because in the electronic dance music, layering is a pretty common thing. So let's layer also the bass. It will be nice to have a little bit of analog analog thing to it. So let's load some Moog emulation. Let's try the Moog emulation from Native Instruments, which is Monarch. And let's, okay, we copy the same bass line and let's find a nice sound. Of course, we can easily high pass it because we don't need the low end information from this. We just need a nice attack and nice mid range from this. Of course, we can add some distortion if we want. A little bit of distortion adds a little bit of character. So for that reason, let's try driver, perhaps. Okay, so that sounds pretty okay, but we can definitely add some other nice instruments. Um, what about the strings? Well, strings were absolutely essential in that kind of music, so I already programmed here some strings. For that purpose, I'm using a really great library from Steinberg. What is it? There it is. It's for Halion Sonic, and it's the Iconica. It's really nice library if you listen to it. Oh, yep. So it's a really nice library with live orchestral strings that sound like this. However, we want to pump it up again a little bit. So what we'll do, we will add a little bit of electronic strings that will take from Nexus. And I have here House Volume 2, and I have here those analog strings. Strings, and just listen to them alone. Okay, so let's play a little bit more. I mean, add more of it, just doubling those notes with 1 octave up. And mix it together with those strings. Okay, obviously these strings are playing, these notes are a little bit too long, especially those long ones. So let's have them not as long as they used to be. Maybe an octave down. Okay, that sounds pretty nice. But as usual, as you know, I like to group things together. So let's create a strings group. Okay, and direct both those strings to the group. Strings group. Strings group. Okay, we have the strings group. And obviously it will be good to sidechain this as well, because it will give us a little bit of more space and this more contemporary sound. Okay, so now let's mix everything together, because now we still have a little bit of mess. So let's start from the drums and the bass. Oh, these rhodes are really nice, but actually I don't need all this low end information again. So what I will do, I will again high pass it as usual. Actually, adding a little bit of flanger might have might make it a little bit more interesting. This also should go to the pumping group, and also I might get rid of the lows a little bit more. Okay, so as you can hear or listen, it's starting to sound pretty interesting. And now it's actually up to you. What else you want to add? You can add some more melody. You can add some funky guitars. Let's try this. Let me find some nice funky guitar loops that might work with it. Okay, because this guitar is pretty dry, let's add a little bit of life for it. So I will use some reverb, reverb. That's how will call it, and I will use I use lexicon all the time. I really like it. It's really good. It's from the period of the 80s and 90s, and it's really nice. So let's listen to the guitar and add a little bit of reverb. Okay. Okay, so it will be good also to compress it a little bit, give a little bit more of saturation and high pass it, obviously. So again, I will use the supercharger GT, but it can be any other compressor and saturation plugin altogether. So, this one is really good. So, as I said, it's my go-to tool right now. So let's listen to it without and with. Well, as you can hear, it adds a lot of distortion, a lot of harmonics, and actually it sounds to it starts to sound really nice and alive. And again, let's I will rather high pass it. As you can see, I don't do any of the proper mixing right now, because this you can do later on to properly mix your track. Right now we are just on the creative stage, and this is a rough mix. We are just creating something new, something interesting. Okay, I added it to the guitar, to the pumping group, so it's together with other instruments, so let's listen to it. Okay, so and again, the guitar must be supportive, so it's a little bit too loud. Now, as you most possibly know, or maybe you are, maybe I told you, or maybe not, the oldest trick in the book is actually question answer. So I will use this trick. It's like this: question answer. One instrument is answering, and playing something, and then the other one is answering to it. So they are not playing together, but they are playing one few notes this, few notes the other one. So I will do it together with the strings. So the guitar with the strings. And let's listen to the strings first. Okay. So more or less I know what I'm gonna do. Okay, so actually it is really nice right now. As you can hear, the strings are asking and the guitar is answering. Of course, we can add equalize a little bit the guitar. So let's do it like this. Add some more height. Okay, so basically we have our main loop, and we can play a little bit with the arrangement. I can show you one more trick. Let's do something like this. Okay, what I did, actually I rendered, I bounced the whole mix that I did right now, and it's something like this. It will be pretty useful in our later arrangement that I will do quickly. So why? Because we can do a little bit a small French house trick. So let's high pass it. Cut a little bit of the highs as well. Let's add a little bit of flanger. And pump it. For that, we'll use volume shaper tool. That is pretty useful for that. Perfect. So let's build a small arrangement. Okay, so right now we have something like this. Oh, let's add a crash because it will be a little bit more nicer and fuller. So I have some of my favorite crash sounds. Here, no cymbals. Okay, so we have it. We can also add it to the drum group. Too loud. And listen to what we have done so far. Great. Actually, we can add this for the first chorus or introduction, and then you just can play with it as much as you want. So, for example, we can get the strings for the verse and just have basic instruments. Okay, so basically this is it. As you can see, in the past, I don't know how long, an hour or 30 minutes, an hour since I started, we have the basic disco arrangement. I mean, not disco arrangement, it's still not an arrangement, but we have a disco loop that we can play with it, and it sounds pretty okay. And then together with a proper mixing and playing a little bit with more compression and EQing, you can get even better sound. But definitely this is how you do it. And remember, merge and layer to old with new. So as I said, if we had drums and we have a nice library of real drummer percussions, merge it with samples that are more contemporary, more modern. If you have bass guitar, merge it with something more analog or maybe even again something modern. That's the whole trick to have new and old merge together. So that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you like that, and I hope to see you soon. I'm sorry for not placing or producing too much tutorial recently. I'm pretty busy, but just write a comment and or contact me and give me if you will want any other tutorial. Just let me know. I will try to do it. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. See you. Goodbye.